This is extremely good news for the St. Louis Blues as we get a huge update on one of their top prospects, Justin Carbonneau, that changes absolutely everything for this franchise moving forward as we get a rule change coming in to junior hockey, which will lead way straight into Carbonneau getting into the Blues organization so much faster. We have so much to break down on this update on Justin Carbonneau. The rule change that changes everything for the Blues and their prospects, and so much more later on this episode. Before we get into that, Blues fans, we just want to give you a huge thank you for helping us reach our milestone of 3,000 subscribers. The channel's been going for just under 2 weeks. Seeing hitting 3,000 subscribers, we want to give you a huge thank you and a shout out to you guys for helping us do this and supporting us along the way. But that, dudes, let's just hop straight into this, where we did see a update coming today. We've seen a lot floating around on Justin Carbonneau, maybe going to Boston College, but we do see he's returning to the Q. Going into next season, returning to his team, he's going to go into the World Junior Summer Showcase. And before we get into this rule change, that kind of changes everything for the Blues. What is your thoughts on Carbonneau already dominating in the juniors, and he's going to stay for another year?
Well, I don't know if he's going to stay for an entire year. We'll get to that in a second because a lot of rules have changed over the course of the last 12 months with junior hockey. Before, if you announced that he was going back, he was probably just going to have to go back and play the year, even 2 more years, because of his draft year just being this year. So there's a lot of rule changes. Obviously, we saw that last season. Now guys can jump from the CHL to the NCAA, right? And pretty much vice versa, but there's no real incentive for that depending on your age. But obviously, he has decided today, he did announce that he will be going back next season to the QMJHL, which is interesting because we covered in another video last week that was up for discussion, right? That was up in the air still. He was going to decide between the QMJHL and going back, committing to either college or university. And that was still up in the air, but he has decided he's going back to the QMJHL. Now, it's very interesting, Mark, of course, with the rule change. There's a lot more flexibility for these players between both leagues and obviously where they want to, continue their development, and for the NHL and the AHL. So there is a real world where he can make the team out of camp, which is something that we've been discussing as a real possibility at this point because it looks amazing in every single highlight that we've seen. So again, yeah, he's just wrecking guys. I know this is development camp, but he looks pretty good, and he's absolutely wrecking the QMJHL as well. So there is a real world he does make the team, and if he does make the team, then he can play up to 9 games at the NHL level before having to be sent back. But now with the new rule change and his age, he can actually play in the AHL this year. So there's a real world where he doesn't even have to go back to the QMJHL, which is why I believe that he didn't commit to a school, and he said he's going back to the Q because he might actually not go back to the Q and stay in the AHL. It's kind of convoluted. There's a lot of moving parts, but I think there is a real world where he can make the team out of camp, and the organization might just keep him up for the first 9 games, give him a little bit of that NHL taste action in the NHL, and of course, go back down to the AHL, continue his development there, because realistically, he's a late birthday. He probably should be at the AHL level already instead of going back to junior.
And I mean, Carbonneau, we've seen him dominate. I mean, looking at his stats, 46 goals, 89 points. He doesn't have a lot to prove at the junior level, but he's going to be playing a lot of hockey this year, the World Juniors. He's going to slide in and probably play a couple of Q games. He can get into the lineup, like you said, not burn a year off. It's ELC, which he has not signed, but we'll touch on that. But the biggest thing is, yes, this rule change makes it so they can bring in 19-year-olds to play in the AHL. And I think this is a great rule change because the big thing is you only get one player that can join within the organization with the AHL instead of either having to play in juniors or the NHL. Because we see a lot of guys, Carbonneau included, you're almost too good to be playing in this junior league. Yes, you're going to continue to dominate, but going into the AHL, you're going to play against former NHL players, current NHL players, players that are on the crisp of making the league, growing men, and it helps your development so much more. So seeing him maybe even playing the Q, the AHL, the NHL, the World Juniors, everything in between, this is going to be a very exciting year. But yes, it does hinge on him signing his contract. We're seeing a lot of teams sign their contracts. Doug is currently gone fishing, like the quote we seen yesterday in his article. So the big thing is you do need to sign him to a new contract. There is implications where he could be playing in all 3 leagues next year, which is crazy. But the big thing is you're bringing in a player wherever he is playing that's dominant, a power forward. He's going in. People are saying he looks like a bull in the china shop. when it comes into his play during training camp. This is a unicorn of a player. And I know it's far-fetched saying because we're just getting him on this team, but the size of him, seeing the highlights, I mean, this guy being a power forward with the type of hands is something you don't see. It's outstanding. It almost feels like that Rick Nash vibe when he was going in and deking people out with Columbus. I think there's a lot to like with Carbonneau, but it does kind of lead into where does he fit in this lineup. Now we have the lineup put out here, and yes, we've seen all the comments. We made these lines on
We heard
Puckpedia.
you guys. We heard you guys. We've seen you guys in the comments. It was the Puckpedia lines. We didn't put these lines together, okay, the whole time. We're not putting these lines together, but we did make these ones. So we've heard you guys. This is probably closer to what it's going to be during the regular season. Just wanted to say that. Continue, Mark. I'm sorry.
And I mean, getting Nathan Walker in is a big add on that fourth line, but it does get interesting. I mean, looking at the current lineup, there's a lot of very good talent down the wing. The left side's heavily underrated around the NHL. Snuggerud's going to make an impact. Kairu's staying with the team. But I do really like the thought of Jake Neighbors, Pius Suter, who's recently acquired, and maybe even Carbonneau sliding in on that third line with a moving Sundqvist down Joseph. Maybe out of the lineup, there's a lot of good pieces. Maybe Doug makes a trade to clear up more room. But what is your thoughts on maybe towards the end of the season? We might see him jump into the AHL to get some games, but could you see that third line finishing the season with Jake Neighbors, Pius Suter, who's a very good defensive guy and can build a lot of momentum on the line, and adding Carbonneau's that extra piece that I think would make that one of the top and most fun third lines in the National Hockey League?
Well, you made a point a couple minutes ago that I want to build off of, that if he does end up going back to the QMJHL, and I do believe this with a lot of prospects, because of the rule that was in place, the CHL didn't want to lose a lot of their star power. So they wanted, they had that rule in place where a lot of guys have to come back until they're, 19, 20 years old when they can go to the AHL. But I feel like it's really stunting a lot of these players' development, because if he does go back to the QMJHL, he's going to get complacent. There's nothing more he can do there. Like, maybe you can go and win a championship. Maybe you can try and add to your defense, like the defensive side of your game, I guess, but then that might take away from his offensive ability, right? If he's really focusing on that. And why can't you just focus on those things at the next level anyway? Why can't you, put attention to the detail at the AHL level? And then of course you're turning pro, so then you can see how his offensive skill translates to the pro game, which I think it will by everything we've seen. So I'm a little skeptical of that, of him going back, because if he is eligible at this point in time with the rule change to play in the AHL, that's where he should be at this point. Like, there's no reason that he shouldn't be. And that's going to change things for a lot of the junior leagues, I think, too. And, coming into the season, where he fits in. The one thing I love about the St. Louis Blues, and the fact that you look at these lines versus what's on Puckpedia and what the lines, the way that they finished the regular season and the playoffs, there's a lot of flexibility with this lineup. Obviously, there's a lot of built-in chemistry as well. And when Snuggerud came into the lineup, you saw that, and he's going to be a difference maker too. And it just lengthens the lineup that much more. But what we see here might not be what we see in game one even of the regular season, never mind, heading into the playoffs. So I think I really like that. And I know it might be a cop-out answer, but I really like the fact that there is so much flexibility with this team. And let us know in the comments, how you see the lines, because of course, a lot of people are going to have a lot of different opinions, but I think there is going to be a surprise in training camp. I do believe that. Like, one player, I'm telling you, these GMs, these coaches, if you stand above the rest in training camp, no matter who they acquired in the offseason, they will make room for you if they think you can help this team win and this lineup. So I do believe there's going to be a surprise. We've seen crazier things with this team. So it's going to be a lot of fun as we head into the regular season. But I just think the flexibility throughout the whole lineup, and the fact that, a lot of different guys can plug in different spots. And again, there is some built-in chemistry, so you want to run off some of that, like Snuggerud, I would keep him on the first line. But other than that, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in training camp.
And I mean, I think the only thing we know is for sure Nathan Walker on the team. And guys, we're joking. We agree with you that he is going to make this lineup 100%. His play is outstanding. But what's your guys' thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on Carbonneau going back to the Q? What is your thoughts on this rule change that almost leads away, where Carbonneau turns 19 pretty close to after his 8-game stint in the NHL, not to burn the entry-level contract? So you could get him straight into AHL action if he's looking pretty decent in the NHL. And one last thing we want to touch on, we're not going to harp on it too long, because it's probably the worst decision the Blues made this entire offseason, probably in the past couple of years. But we did see John Kelly's contract after 20 years with the Blues did not get renewed. Go down and leave a comment on that, because we're not going to touch on it too far, because honestly, it's got us a little pissed off with it all. But what's your guys' thoughts on us? Go down and leave a comment down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Once again, Blues fans, thank you so much for the support. We're not going to slow down, so I hope you guys are enjoying this content. Go down and leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back again. Keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care.